Okay, we are back with episode 27 of PuckPod by B Sports. My name is Bryan. I'm here with Christian and David. We are going to still continue our 30-minute episode streak, try to at least, until the playoffs start. When the playoffs starts, that's when we'll have fun. It's just that right now, it's still the dead point of the season, and we're just waiting for the playoffs to start. You guys know how we start this. Christian, how was your week?
My week was okay. I just want to focus on my weekend here, just from like a sports side of things. So we got baseball starting back up. Big Jays fan myself. I know Davis as well. Was really hyped for that first game. It was a doozy. It was a good game. High scoring, really good. And then we proceeded to lose the next two games. I don't even know if the third game of the series.
Let's go Blue Jays.
Let's go Jays.
Did finish. Yeah, they lost.
Okay, it mercifully ended because I know they were getting smoked.
They lost in the first inning, dude. 4 home runs on 8 pitches.
Yeah, not the best debut for Chris Bassett. But then I saw a stat that said it was like Chris Bassett is the first Jays pitcher to give up 3 home runs in the first inning or in his debut inning since Robbie Ray. I'm like, okay, well that was literally 2 years ago, and then he won a Cy Young the year after. So I think he's okay.
He's also never given up 4 home runs in a game before, so maybe that gives us a little bit of pause. So he only can improve from here. This is game 3 out of 162. Yes. So you know what, Chris Bassett, I still have faith in you, boss. But
yes, me too.
Tough out.
So what I always say, Dave, you set the bar low because you can only go up from there, right?
Exactly.
Can't set the standard too high. No,
Christian, you also see the stat that in the 3 games so far, the Jays have like 30 hits, no home runs.
That's ridiculous.
I do know because I was patiently waiting there today. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see a dinger today.
I'd say maybe, yeah. Well, especially with the lineup that we have, we should see a couple more dingers than we have. But maybe when they come back to the Rogers Center, we'll get the floodgates open. Basically,
that's good with me. Other sports note: the other team I cheer for, other than the Leafs, as Bryan throws his hands up in the air, I'm a forsaken Ferrari Formula One fan, and my God, it was a terrible weekend. Terrible. I stayed up till 1 a.m. for this Australian Grand Prix to start. I'm like, okay, my boy Leclerc is in 7. Let's see if he can get up there. He lasted 1 turn. He lasted a singular turn until he spun out. And I'm like, well, this is god awful. And it only got worse. Like the other Ferrari driver, Carlos Sainz, I saw a video this morning of like his radio chatter, and so he's got a very strong Spanish accent because he's Spanish. Like he almost sounded like a character. Like he sounded like a soap opera, a Spanish soap opera. He's like, "No, guys, please, you got to check with the stewards. They're gonna take my points away. I was in P3, now I'm in P11. No, please, you got to." It was hilarious, but I feel really bad. It's cheering for Ferrari is exactly like cheering for the Leafs, which is hilarious because the whole point of me like watching Formula One was okay. This is my escape from the Leafs. I'm just going to be a casual watcher, and I chose the team that's just like the Leafs. Bad sports weekend for me, but yeah.
Brian, did Red Bull go 1-2 again?
They went 1-5, but our second driver had he started from the pit lane, so he's basically 19th or 20th, and he climbed his way up. He would have, if there's literally 4 stops during the race, he would have climbed up to probably 4th or 3rd, but the problem is with all the stops there were, it was just impossible because it just kills the race, right? But
and this was straight up the most stops in a Formula One race ever. Race has never been red flagged 4 times. So
that's crazy.
I can't say I watched the full race. I tapped out around 2:30, maybe like lap 40ish. So I missed half of the red flags. That race probably, I don't even know what time this race ended.
Oh, it ended at 4.
It probably was like, that's nuts.
I went to bed at 4:30 last night.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You're
understandable
crazy,
for this guy. He's cheering for the winners. I am unfortunately not. But yeah, that's all right.
Dave, how was your week?
It was pretty good. I didn't watch Formula One, but I did earn some money off of Anthony Joshua beating. I forgot who he fought. Honestly, I just saw the name. It was on a site, on a betting site, and I was like, you know what? I know that guy's name. He had some pretty good numbers, pretty good odds going for him. I'm like, let me throw a little bit of money. Won some good money off of that fight. So shout out to Anthony Joshua wherever he is right now, probably celebrating his win. Other than that, my week's been work and watching the Leaf game. That's all I've done. Had a good week though.
Good to hear. Good to hear. I had a pretty okay week. I don't want to get to the pizza talk, but we did our Saturday afternoon pizza again with the family. Well, not with my family, just with my dad. This time my sister's away. I watched the race. I lost a lot of sleep. I'll just say that. And
works it though. Works it for you.
I wanted a 1-2. I can't lie. I wanted a 1-2, 1-3. Like, okay,
greedy dude.
hear me out. The car is so good. That's the expectation. But you know what? I got 50% of it, so we'll take it. But
you know what I would say, Brian? It's like a Red Bull is almost like the Boston of F1. Would you agree?
Kinda, but it's different. But I know where this is going. We can talk about the Bruins. They clinched the President's Trophy. What a season they're having.
Oh, what a shocker.
Wow, never saw that one coming, right?
Well, actually, we didn't.
We didn't. I was way off with that one.
Dave's allowed to say it. You're right. Me and Brian, though, yeah.
Hard miss.
I don't bet against the Bruins. I didn't think they'd win the President's Trophy. I don't bet against them.
Yeah, no, listen.
What I will say, though, is that do you guys know about the President's Trophy curse? Do you guys believe in it?
Well, I wouldn't know. You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
As Leaf fans, we've never experienced that high of getting the President's Trophy only to choke. We just get that pressure of going in as like the 5th seed and choking in the first round. So do I believe in superstitions? I do. So Boston, watch your back, but knowing them, they're going to win the cup. So
what's the statistic? Isn't it like 50% of teams that win the President's Trophy win the cup? Maybe it's a little lower than that. Like, I don't think it's bad. It's not terrible.
I'm pretty sure it's like 30, because like I'm pretty sure it's like in the 30 range.
Okay.
So here's the thing, right? It's because you're first in the league, right? Everybody is gunning for you. You are the model franchise for that respective season. So everybody wants to take your crown. So it kind of puts a bit of a target on your back. And I can see maybe if Boston maybe came in as the 2 seed, if they go in as the 2 seed, there's not as much expectation, I could say. That's a very strong season from them. So in this case, this year is going to be Carolina. They need to prove why they should have been, that number 1 spot. They need to gun for Boston, right? So I mean, still 30% is a ridiculous stat. Is there also not a stat where it's like you don't touch the President's Trophy or else? Is that not the bad luck, or is that
that's the conference?
Yeah, and then Tampa disregarded all of that because didn't they touch the Conference Cup like 2 years in a row and then they won
it's actually better.
Times,
the statistic is that
I think Colorado touched it too last year.
It's better to touch it, but if I'm talking about superstitions. But where I was going with the Bruins and the President's Trophy curse stuff like that is this Bruins team kind of reminds me of that crazy Tampa Bay run, right? And we all know what happened there. It's like 82 games of hard work just to be pissed away in 5, right?
Okay.
And
here's what I'd say to that. Like, just comparing those two teams, because I also wanted to make that comparison. To me, they're different. The Bruins feel different. And the point I wanted to bring up was, do you guys remember President's Trophy team that seems like they've had as much fun in a season as the Bruins? They've had themselves quite the year. Like, I feel like you're always seeing some really just like lighthearted, funny moment from a Bruins game, whether it's Ullmark scoring a goal, Marchand coming in Toronto and running his mouth, and everyone getting riled up about that. Jim Montgomery's had a ton of quotes too. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, we gotta forget. I forgot about that part, Dave.
But we have to erase that.
I mean, Montgomery's like been a quote machine too. Like he's got some good stuff. He's a pretty funny guy, and he's a pretty positive guy. Like when I think back to that Tampa team, they almost felt like, yeah, this is just business, and no, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're Tampa. We got to worry about what's ahead, and it just kind of crumbled once the playoffs started. I just get a very more a more lighthearted feel from the Bruins. They don't feel like they're taking the season as seriously as Tampa did, but that's just me.
I like that, and it's ironically I did watch like the Bruins do like this awesome documentary called Behind the B on their YouTube channel. It doesn't get many views, which is surprising considering they're such a great big franchise. But basically, I was watching this episode, like this clip or something like that, and then Marchand's training with all the team, right? And he's like, there's actually he's screaming to the team, there's actually no one I hate in the league anymore. right?
Yes,
because they all got traded to Boston.
Everybody I hate in the league is playing on our team now, and he's referring to Hathaway, Orlov, and what's his name, Bertuzzi.
Bertuzzi.
Yeah. There's one guy that he hates that isn't on his team, and this relates to a quote that I think came from Marchand today, where they asked Marchand about Binnington because we got Bruins versus Blues today, and Marchand said, "I love Binnington because like people hate him more than me, so I love Binner." That's what Marchand had to say, right? So,
dude,
you see, it's just funny. Like
again, like I said this before. Do you know how much of an asshole you have to be to make everybody like Marchand over you? Like
Dave, after hearing the Binner stuff, he's gonna take off his hoodie. He's got a Bruins jersey on right now. Marchand on the back.
No,
I would never.
But I'd burn my skin alive.
But I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see how far they go. Expectations are that they make it to the final at least. I mean, that's got to be the expectation. That's where the bar is set at this point. But we have to see how they do it and if it even happens, because upsets do happen. Probably not this situation, but it's definitely a possibility. Okay, so the next topic we have here is that there's a Canadian that came home. He had a great time, apparently, in the capital. Ryan Reynolds was in Ottawa, and he's probably going to be part of whichever bid wins the Senators bid. As an NHL fan, or NHL fans that want to see the league grow, do you guys think that this is the right move? In the sense that, the team's going to get a new personification. It's different from the Melnick era, right? I just want to hear your take on that.
I think it's not even just great for the franchise. Like the franchise has needed that type of owner. So Eugene bought the team when they were honestly on ice. They were probably at their one of their strongest peaks, right? He bought them and he developed them into like in the mid 2000s. They were almost unstoppable, but the Leafs stopped them quite a few times. But whatever. Well,
yeah, you gotta throw that in there.
Yeah, I gotta throw in my digs here and there. But he bought them low and he turned them into a relatively small market powerhouse on ice. It unfortunately the last few years of his life weren't the greatest for the Senators. There was always like a dark cloud hanging over the team. I feel like he did a lot of meddling as an owner, which my philosophy is if you're going to own a team, let the people that you employ do the day-to-day, month-to-month, just worry about paying the bills. That's all you have to do as an owner. Don't get involved, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to waste more of your money that you're putting in, and it's just going to blow up in your face. So that's my rule of thumb if you're an owner and you're watching this by chance. Or you're thinking about buying a team. I think that Ryan Reynolds being a part of, now obviously he's not going to be the one forking out billions of dollars to put his name. He's not the one that's gonna attend every board of governor meetings, you know what I mean? But having him on your team, giving him some credibility, I would say, is not only just going to do wonders for the Ottawa market. They're eventually going to get their new stadium and all that stuff. That's going to get sorted out. Having him on probably helps that out a little bit, but it's also going to help out the NHL as a whole. Having somebody with his star power can literally is a foolproof plan to increase eyes on the league.
I like that, Dave. And another thing that I just wanted to point out, you're a big soccer fan. Everybody knows that. When you have the
my team lost today, though.
Oh, that's where I was going. No, I'm kidding. So you support Manchester United. The owners are famously greedy, like the Glazer family, right? You have an identity with the owners. I like the idea of the Senators having a sort of personification or a face to the franchise now, in the sense that we know that this guy owns it. Another thing I just want to point out with Ryan Reynolds, he actually invested in two companies that just got bought out, Aviation Gin and I think it's Mint Mobile, the other one. If you add up the amount he's received from after selling them, it's close to $1 billion. This guy knows what he's doing in terms of business, and he knows how to use his brand and utilize it to the full potential. I want to see how he does it with the Senators, because what he's doing with I think it's Wrexham United. No, sorry, AFC Wrexham. He's doing a fantastic job with a Disney Plus show, and wouldn't it be kind of awesome to see more of the behind the scenes of that. I know we kind of got our all or nothing thing, but that's not the same as like a consistent.
More nothing than all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. But it'd be kind of interesting to see like a series being produced by like one of the biggest names in Hollywood. You know, a specific NHL thing, right? And it'd be also be good for branding.
Especially if he brings in the same types of people. Like if he brings in somebody like Rob in the future, so Rob McElhenney has to be one of the, so he is the creator of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I have the utmost respect for that guy. He's one of the funniest like comics of our generation. What he's been doing with Ryan in Wrexham is nothing short of like remarkable. It feels to me like he's kind of taken more of a supporter's role with Wrexham than Ryan has, and maybe that's for the best. Like it feels like he puts his whole passion into it. So if Ryan's maybe able to partner up with somebody like Rob, or maybe even bring Rob in the future, and they bring like that same type of production that they did with Wrexham, the Wrexham show, Welcome to Wrexham, and they bring it to Ottawa, man, like that franchise is going to get such a boost in like, I would say 5 years from now, we're going to be looking at the Ottawa Senators, like doing a complete 360 from the past 5 years, right? It's been dark times since 2017, since that cup run that they had.
It feels like to me, the Senators never really had an identity, and it feels like now they're starting to come into it both on ice and like organizationally, which is pretty good for them.
They have the potential to be like kind of like a darling team in the league, like a team that, let's say you're just an American fan and your team's out of the playoffs, you might want to hitch your wagon to the Senators, who may have that kind of like that Carolina Hurricanes personality to them, the bunch of jerks era. It kind of feels like we could be entering that type of era with the Sens. Not the same antics like the bunch of jerks slogan and all that, but just having a voice for the team that just really makes it a fun environment. Just and like we said, maybe they do a TV series and we get a little bit more personality from the players themselves. We know that's been successful in other sports. We talk about Formula One, definitely successful there. Golf and tennis have ventured into that. There's definitely a place for that in hockey, and like you guys mentioned, soccer, they've already shown how it is successful. Literally, Reynolds is the one doing that one. So listen, it's tough to see any negatives from his involvement. And Dave, you made a great point where you were talking about not only is this going to help Ottawa locally, but the NHL at large. Going back to that first point, Ottawa locally, we saw the Leafs in Ottawa last night. And as usual, definitely a lot of Leaf fans in town. We take over that arena there at Canadian Tire Center, and we make our presence known. Some pretty loud Go Leafs Go chants. And if you're Reynolds, I think you're the type of guy who has the power to recruit new fans, whether it's in Ottawa locally or just around the league watching your games. So I do think we're going to see a more passionate fan base in the future because of this this potential move that we suspect is all going to be down the pipeline. So yeah, and another thing, I almost wonder if this not only persuades other people to maybe partner up with him on the Senators. Is there other celebrities who might be involved with other NHL teams down the line if they're also for sale? What if we had Reynolds? Where's Gostin's from Canada too? What city's Gostin from, guys? I actually don't know.
Is he from here?
Right. Okay.
I think it's from Ontario.
Well, okay, if he's from Ontario,
maybe partners on the MLSE board.
Oh yeah. Man,
oh man, dude! Because Ryan Reynolds is a big Canucks fan, or that's he was. I don't know if maybe he's gonna have to cut some allegiances there. I know he was. Imagine though, he was introduced quite a few times, like during like I believe during the Deadpool run that he had for one of the movies. They brought him out for ceremonial puck drop, stuff like that. Like he was involved with the Vancouver community. Oh yeah, man, that's a. Listen,
it's a big loss for Vancouver.
That is a very big loss for Vancouver. And Francesco Aquilini might be like, it might be stuffing his boots a little bit because he's like, wow, we had this guy here. We could have done something with him. And then you see the trajectory of Ryan Reynolds like going up and up and up, especially in the sports sphere. And you almost had him in your grasp and you couldn't do anything.
It was given to them on a silver platter.
Such a big coup from Ottawa, especially for Ottawa, who really needed something like that to lift up that franchise. Honestly, like you honestly can't hate it. Like if we could laugh at the Canucks even more this season, I think we can. So you know what? That's what you guys get, Francesco. If you're watching.
Before I segue, I just wanted to ask you guys this: if the Senators did have like a show on Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever it is, would you guys, as not neutral, but as hockey fans, would you guys be interested in watching that?
Yes. Anything. Give me anything. The NHL is crying, like it's starving for that type of content. We have the on ice product. Look across all 32 teams. I would say, okay, maybe 25 of them have star players on them. Give me personalities now. I don't want to just see the hockey. I want to see what goes behind the hockey like sphere. Like I don't want to see just on ice. I want to see some personality showing. And I know not everybody's got personalities, but we'll take Toronto as an example. You have Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, who are, two likable guys, two guys who, they let their play on the ice do the talking, but they also let, their sense of fashion. Both Matthews and Marner have a close connection to Justin Bieber. Maybe, bringing in Justin Bieber on board this year, last year with his Drew House connection. We just saw this past week, the Leafs played with the Drew House jersey with Justin Bieber in attendance. And it does such a, okay, maybe not for the team on ice because they lost that game, but it does such a thing for the city. Like,
it definitely brings
it's just
value.
Crazy. Just
definitely,
yeah, 100%, right?
It definitely brings value, and I do like the idea of a show. Dave, I'm glad that you as a Leafs fan would be willing to watch a show about the Senators and be willing to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch the Senators.
I'd be
listen, dude. If it's a losing season, sign me up, man. I'll watch the Senators implode.
That's true.
It's true though. It's true though.
Yeah, 100%. I'd be willing to watch. Like, I'll catch glimpses of like the behind the beat, just because like I'm starved as a hockey fan for like those behind the scenes like things. I love that, seeing hockey players in their, it looks like their natural element, not on the ice. It's one of the funniest, and like sometimes it's just like so awesome to see, and I wish we had more of that.
It really is intriguing, and a Disney show, or any show actually, or any other form of content would bring more eyes more eyes to the sport. Okay, moving into our next topic. There's a player that we saw, or not saw, but Christian mentioned in our chat the other day, has an abnormal amount of goals. Then we went through the whole team, and their defensemen as a whole just have an abnormal amount of goals. The player that we're talking about is Brady Shea of the Carolina Hurricanes. Based on, as of the time of this statement right now, he is currently at 17 goals. And it's pretty interesting to me because like it feels like it's gone under the radar. It seems like the only defenseman that we hear about scoring is Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson only has a handful of goals more, right? Isn't it kind of interesting that like no one's been talking about this?
It is kind of interesting. Like I feel like Brady Shea, just the player, is a little bit more understated. We haven't heard much about him since he went to Carolina. And just talking about the blue line, they've always had a stacked blue line. Even when you go back to when Dougie Hamilton was on the Hurricanes, right? So he does fly under the radar, and this is a career year for him. And it's interesting looking back to how he got to Carolina. Do you guys remember the trade that got him there? Because it was kind of not out of nowhere. I think it was the season that the Rangers put out the letter. I want to say it was that season. He only went for just a flat first.
Oh.
It was just a first. And you know what's crazy, Brian, is it actually ended up being Hendrix Lapierre that was picked at that spot. I think the Rangers ended up trading that to you. I don't know. I don't really know how you guys got a hold of that pick.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's how Shea made his way to Carolina. And before being in Carolina, he was on the Rangers, and he was kind of the number one guy there after McDonough left. He took up the role basically as their number one defenseman. And he was pretty good. I think that season he did fall off a bit, but he's been steadily getting better with each season in Carolina. So last year he had 39 points, only 9 goals. And right now he's got 34. So you know what? He won't necessarily beat that point total from last year, but he's definitely doubled it on goals. Maybe that is a bit of luck, but I do think it speaks to just Carolina's defense. And I think Bryan said he's got a theory on why this is happening. Just specific to Shea, I think it's the emergence of Brent Burns on the team that they also got through trade, where he's taken probably a lot of the hard minutes. I don't know if he's been paired with Slavin most of the time, but I think at least partially, they've played together most of the season. And now you've got Shea freed up on a second pair. He can either be playing with Brett Pesce. Gossip there is another pickup there if they want to go really offensive. But Slavin's point totals have come down this year because same thing. He hasn't had to do much offensively because Burns and Shea have kind of took over that role. He's been kind of totally a defensive defenseman first and foremost. Any points have been gravy. I was surprised with the Shea thing though. I think 17 goals. That's a little understated for defensemen. I don't know how many guys are at 20 on the year as a defenseman. If I had to guess, maybe one or two. I think Carlson is probably at 20. After that, I'm not sure. Maybe McCarr is inching there. But Shea, he's got an outside chance to hit the 20-goal club mark as a defenseman.
I find it kind of interesting how, like, as soon as Brent Burns leaves San Jose, goes to Carolina, his career is instantly rejuvenated. It's like
and same goes for Carlson, which is funny too. It's yes. Like they just had to get divorced, and it's been good for both sides of the marriage, to be honest.
That is an interesting situation too. But where I was going with Carolina with why the defensemen have so many points. Can someone just pull up the point totals for the Demon quickly while I explain this?
Sure.
But
sure.
I was just watching the way they play. Everybody knows that Carolina works hard and the forwards press. But if you guys notice, the forwards don't really get too many points in terms of like relative to other teams.
It's pretty balanced.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of spread out.
Forwards, defensemen, it's pretty even. Obviously inching towards forwards. But if you look at the way they play, like they like to shoot from the outside. What does that mean? It means that defensemen are typically not going to be right in front of the net or in the slot. And if sometimes your strategy is just to throw the puck on the net, something's going to go in or you're going to get an assist. It's just how it is, a rebound goal. And I think that's just a simple way to put it of why the defensemen have so many points this season, because it's literally in their game plan. I think Carolina might take the most shots out of any team in the league. I don't know if the official
probably
stat...
been like that for like 3 years running, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. But I will say though, like, so you talk about shooting on the outside. I think on the general idea of shooting on the outside, it's probably not the best idea. Carolina makes it work because they have a talented decor, right? If you're a team who isn't necessarily relying on talent and you're deploying that type of system, a team that comes to mind, I actually don't know how their shot metrics are, but just from playing them this year, it feels like Ottawa is a team that's kind of impulsive with when they shoot. They kind of just enter the zone. Sometimes they throw it on, and that's it. That's a team whose decor is either incredible in the top half or not so good in the bottom half. Carolina's got a very, very talented decor, and shots that are considered like low danger scoring chances for a lot of teams. For Carolina, it's probably worth taking because of the guy taking that shot. It's Brent Burns, it's Jacob Slavin, it's Brady Shea, it's Shane Gostisbehere. I feel like that's the key to why that system works for this team.
Does anybody have the goal totals for the defensemen?
Sure. Here we go. Burns with 14, Shea with 17. Slavin's got 7, Caffield's got 6, Pesce's got 4, and then Gostisbehere has split totals. So let me get his full season totals.
He has two with the Canes. 2 and 16.
Yeah. So he's got 12 on the season.
And those numbers, they don't sound like defenseman numbers at all. Those numbers genuinely sound like a middle six, low end, second line.
Somebody like Jalen Chatfield, who I think we could agree, he's playing 14 minutes a night on average. Like I think he's their sixth, right? Because they have even like Calvin DeHaan. Okay, Calvin DeHaan's played less minutes, but it looks like he hasn't played every game. I don't know if that's through injury or like scratch. But 6 goals on 14 minutes a night is like the 6th man on the Leafs, Christian. It's probably Justin Hall, I would say.
Any given night, it's Hall, Liljegren, Timmins earlier in the season. Right?
I think both Liljegren and Hall combined have 6 goals. You know what I mean?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So
and that just
to put it into a little bit like a perspective there.
And that just shows you the amount of depth and value to getting another defenseman. And currently they are leading the Metro, which means that they will probably be dodging the Rangers. I think they're only 1 point ahead of the Devils, but we need to see how that goes.
It's close.
Okay. Our last topic of the day is kind of about a weird, interesting milestone. It's the 100-point club for this season, 2022-2023 season. As we know, there's a couple players that already hit it. The Edmonton guys Pasternak, but there's a couple guys on the cusp of it. Who do you guys think? Where do you think it stops? Who do you think is the last player to get into this? And who are the players that you guys are surprised about that are in this conversation?
So just looking at it here, just to finish that list of guys who are at 100. So McDavid, Draisaitl, Cooch at 106, Tkachuk at 102, Pasta is also at 102. And then we got a 5-point decrease. We're going down to Jason Robertson at 97, McKinnon at 97, Nugent Hopkins at 97, Patterson at 96, Marner 95, Carlson 95, Rankin 92. Those are all your 90-point getters. Do we think that's where it ends, or do we see any of the 89-point guys, which is Hughes, Thompson, and Point, getting into that conversation? Those are guys who would probably have to bring up their point per game rate to get into the conversation. If I had to choose one of those names, just think about it now, I'd actually go with Thompson because Hughes and Point play for playoff teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they get rest down the stretch. Whereas Thompson, right, like he just got games here. Just thinking about that there. But we could have 12 100-point getters. I think if we're looking at who's the most surprising guy who's going to hit 100, it's got to be Nugent Hopkins, right? 97 points for Nuge. 35-goal season, 62 points. Power play points. How many power play points does Brian Nugent Hopkins have?
Guys? Oh, it's like 60%.
It's like 56.
He's got 50 on the dot. McDavid's got 68, and Draisaitl has 58. Then you got Nuge with 50, but that's still more than half of his points, right? That's the difference. When you look at McDavid, 58 of 140 whatever points, that's only a third of his point percentage, right? Point total. Same goes for Draisaitl, 58 to like 120. It's almost half, but Nuge is more than half. He has definitely been
a beneficiary.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I want to call him the power play merchant. I know we like to refer to Huberdeau as the secondary assist merchant. But listen, Nugent Hopkins isn't doing it just on assists. He's got a 35-goal season, right?
Yeah. Here's like the thing with that is like we could like on like by looking at it, you could definitely say power play merchant, but you have to be there. Like it's not like he's just getting by. Like he's not just on the ice. Like you said, he's producing. He's 35 goals. How many of them are power play goals though?
He's got 14. Like that's a respectable number. It's not like
that's a pretty good number actually. Like I like scoring on the power play is not like it's not all cut and dry. Like you've got to be in the right positions, right?
Another thing we do need to make sure that people understand is that the power play is a team stat, and the Oilers have the best power play in the league. I think it's at like 32% or something ridiculous like that.
It's on pace for, I don't know if it's best in NHL history. It might be like the best clip in NHL history.
If it's not already, I'd be very like I think the only one that maybe like who could compare to that? Maybe the Gretzky Oilers. If you were to tell me like top 3 like all times, I would say Gretzky Oilers, a year with the Mario, like the Lemieux Yager Penguins, and these guys, right? Like who else is putting up those insane, like those are video game numbers. If you were playing Hut, that's the type of power play that you want, like that you're getting, right? You're getting superhumans on there.
I think we do have to point out that although his name makes sense to be on this list at 97 points, McKinnon has done this in only 64 games. He's got the 4th highest point per game clip in the league. You've got, actually, 3rd. There's a guy who's got 2 points in one game. We're not counting him. McDavid's got 1.9 points a game. Draisaitl at 1.6. McKinnon's at 1.52. 97 points in 64 games is pretty freaking nuts. The next highest guy is Tkachuk at 1.38. So that's a steep drop off there. He's been on fire. And it kind of feels like that's gone under notice. Like when we think about Colorado's year and who's been the most dominant guy, I think we bring up the guy with the lower point total. I feel like we talk more about Rantanen. And listen, he gets total credit. He's on this list, and he's a guy who could definitely get to 100 points as well. But for all the praise that McKinnon gets, it almost feels like this is the year where he should get it, and he hasn't really got as much.
I think that
100%.
I just think that McKinnon's in that class where it's not that he's too good.
We expect it?
Yes.
I think it's that, right?
I think he is too, Brian. I think you brought up a good point. Like last year, if you remember, me and you had a conversation when Austin Matthews won the Hart Trophy. Like, you were like, yeah, he scored 60 goals, but McDavid was on otherworldly pace. I was like, but McDavid is on that pace every year. Like, you can't just keep giving him the same pace unless he exceeds the limits. This year, he's going to win the Hart Trophy, the Art Ross Trophy, give him the goddamn Norris Trophy for all I care, right? Give him everything. He deserves everything because he's been on an otherworldly pace. Last year, Austin Matthews was on that, that 60 goal pace that we hadn't seen for 10 years. And now we saw it this year, right? With McDavid, who passed his goal total.
It's just like,
it's insane. It's insane.
It's just that with McKinnon, it's like he's in that category where it's like, that is the expectation, that is the bar. I'm not surprised. Meanwhile, with Nuge is known to be like the third biggest bust in like NHL like the past 10 years. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful because I think he's a good player, but was he first overall good?
I think he's shed that label now, right? Like, but even before this season, these numbers is like, oh my god. But like he became the shutdown center last year, I want to say, right? Like, he was, I think, like a 60-point pace. Which is a second line center. That's in line with expectations. It's not bad,
but it's still not like one overall. Now with these 97, with this, whatever you said, 97, 95, that is
97 points.
That is number one overall pick potential, right? And it's weird.
Yeah, 100%.
He literally hit this. It's been like 13 years since he's been in the league, right? So good on him.
So something that we talked about in the chat really quick. We were talking about some of these players who hadn't hit the 100-point total yet. And the two that was really surprising to me, and I think we agreed, was McKinnon and Marner have never had 100-point seasons. So crossing our fingers that things go well for both of them. That's going to be the first one. McKinnon in 2018-19 had 99 points. 2017-18, I believe that was the year that he was runner-up to Hull for Hart Trophy voting. He had 97. 1920, he had 93 points, and then that was cut off by COVID. And this year, 97, he should get the deed done. But that's 1, 2, 3 straight 90-plus point seasons.
Just needs one extra one.
Fell short. Yeah, and Marner had the 94-point season. That was in 2018-19, Tavares' first year, where they were just like a magical duo. And last year, he had 97 in only 72 games. So... that was just surprising too.
If I'm not mistaken, that COVID year also, like, it really, like, okay, so you brought up like a player like McKinnon and Marner didn't hit 100 points. I think everybody lost around 9 to 10 games that year. There was other players that year who were like, I'm looking at Austin Matthews, who actually would have maybe potentially broke the Leafs goal scoring record that year before he did it this past, like, last season. Like, everybody people were on pace for, record numbers, but because the league got shut down for the last 10 games of the season, they just, it's like the biggest what if, right? Like, what if they all hit that number back that year? So unfortunately, it's looking like, wow, it's surprising that this is going to be the first time that they've hit 100 points. But you also have to look at the landscape of the league over the past 3 years, right? Some of these players have lost, a lot of time because of, what happened a few years ago. So good for them that it's finally going to happen for them. I think it's just well overdue. I think it could have already happened, basically.
There's also two players I just want to shout out quickly. Jason Robertson is the highest scoring Dallas Star ever. I think he clipped that last
Crazy
night.
To think about, man. Yeah.
And he's not done yet. Yes. And he's not done yet.
Wow.
And I don't think this is the end for him. I think that next year he only gets better. He's only gotten better in the past couple of years. So Dallas, bright future ahead. I think they're going to go far in this playoffs too. I don't want to jinx them, but yeah. Another player I just want to shout out.
Hey, yeah, I was about to say, like, same thing. You could say the exact same thing. I don't know if you're going to bring up this player. I have a feeling you might. But is it going to be Tage Thompson?
No. The player I wanted...
it's going to be a Swedish guy.
Yes.
But a forward, not the defenseman.
Yes. Yeah. I want to shout out Elias Pettersson. Elias Pettersson, since the day he was drafted, I remember watching his draft class, like the draft perspective or whatever. And I saw his silky hands, and I says, if this guy ever puts on weight, he'll be amazing. And it seems like he's put on weight, but the weight of the Vancouver Canucks is on his back right now, and he's going full speed ahead.
It's a lot of weight.
Dude, I gotta say, okay, so when you guys look at Pettersson, like, who's the comparable that comes to your mind? Could be a current player or former player, because I've kind of thrown him in with this one guy, and I'm just convinced that's the comparable for him. Do you guys have
is he a former Swede that you're thinking of?
Yes. We're probably gonna think of the same person.
Is it Henrik Zetterberg? No.
No.
Because
I feel like different.
I don't want to say Mats.
Because what I was,
I say Mats, bro.
Are you saying Mats? I'm thinking more like Alfie a little bit, but Mats is a good. Mats is really like, dude. If you're getting compared to him,
lanky dudes, right? Yeah. No, it's definitely a compliment. Right. Yes, a tall lanky dude. And what's one of their lethal weapons is their slapper, right?
It's like Pettersson on that list.
Yeah,
you go down the list of like the past 20 years of Swedish hockey. You compare Elias Pettersson to any one of them: the Sedin twins, Henrik Zetterberg, Alfredsson, Mats Sundin. You compare Elias Pettersson to any one of them, and he might be more talented than all of them, right? Like the sky honestly is the limit. I know Bryan was hell bent. He was talented. Huge on him as soon as he got drafted. Like me and him, I remember the heated arguments we had about him. I never saw it until this year, honestly. Like, you know what, good for him that he's having his breaking out party. Maybe it's taken a little bit longer. I wouldn't even call it a breaking out party because he's actually been relatively good. I think last year was his first year of a bit of regression. But before that, it was like he was just kept improving. He had that regression, and now he's like supernova, and he looks to only burn brighter. If only his team around him could just, give him some extra support. That's it.
And doesn't that sound like Matt Sundin too?
That's part of the
comparison.
You know what? I think you sold me there, Christian, honestly.
I think that Pettersson is going to be in that category where we see McKinnon, Draisaitl right now. Eventually. It's just organizationally, I just think the Canucks just need to give him a little bit more support. Not just like on like paper. Like the team itself is like on paper looks good. I'm talking about like management. They need to figure something out for him. And once that happens, we'll see how much damage he really can do. It's almost like he's a dull blade. Like they just need to sharpen it up, and then there's gonna be some damage.
That's a pretty sharp dull blade. If he's at what is it, 96 points right now, like holy.
Yes, it's a dull blade, but we put it over fire. So it's hot.
Of potential.
Yes,
it's the greatest material ever. They just kind of sharpen it.
All right. Anything else you guys want to shout out for the last little bit? Any other players you guys want to mention?
So the last one that you said before, I thought you were gonna lean into. I guess I'll give my flowers to Tage Thompson. I know me and Christian have been big on him all year. Well, you said about the things that you said about Robertson could fit the exact same things for Tage Thompson, barring the playoff run, because they're not going to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, I feel so bad for Sabres fans because they had such a great year, and it feels so bad that they couldn't get over that hump. But it's going to happen, guys. Just stick with it. I know Sabres fans are like, please just give us something. I think this year is that start. We started seeing, some of the groundwork being laid last year. You guys have a good all you need is a good offseason, not even a great offseason. I'm not saying you have to win the offseason. Have a good offseason. You guys are going to be right in it. Get a goalie first, please, for the love of God. Get some goaltending.
They might have got him, man. He might have made his debut.
He might have
yesterday or 2 days ago. So we'll keep an eye on that.
You want to bring him up a little bit, or like?
Yeah, I think Devin Levi's going to get 100 points. I think he can do
100 points in net. He's going to get the Art Ross and the Vezina all in one.
Yeah. I think we can talk about Devin Levi when he gives us a little bit more of a sample size, but
early
returns, pretty good. Good.
They're looking good.
Yeah.
So
do you want to talk about Hughes, Bryan?
I don't think he's going to get to 100. I think that he's finally shown up that he is like an amazing player. It's been time. We've been waiting for this, right? And we're still waiting because he hasn't hit that prime peak potential yet. The Devils are going to be deadly. They will be for a while, which is not a good thing. If you're in the East, that's not like what you want to hear. But at the end of the day,
who hits 120 points first, Jack Hughes or Dawson Mercer? I'm kidding.
there's a chance that Eichel never hits 120 points, but only time will tell.
Wow. You know what? Even a solid 100-point guy for him, that's still, I don't know if it's exceeding expectations, but like that's expectations now for first overall pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, I know Jersey's settling for a 100-point season because they still haven't had one.
So, boys, on the list that we have here of the 100-point club or potential 100-point club, if you guys were going to get a jersey from any of these guys, where would you go?
All of them.
But where would you go to buy the jersey?
NHLshop.com.
Okay.
Obviously.
NHLshop.ca, that is the best place that you can go to buy NHL jerseys. Use our link below. Shout out to Razor. You can watch Hockey Night in Canada on Fubo TV. Hockey Night in Canada will be covering, I believe, every single night of the first round will be Hockey Night in Canada. You can catch it on Fubo TV. Thank you for listening.
I think they cover the whole playoffs, Bri. Hockey Night in Canada.
Hockey Night in Canada will be covering the whole playoffs.
I think.
Also,
so stick to Fubo. Yeah. Go download Fubo right now. I'm telling you.
Use our links below. Also, check out Dave's TikToks.
Yeah,
more course coming your way.
Tell me if you guys enjoy the new formats of our TikToks. Tell me if they keep your attention span.
I'll tell you what.
Because I'll tell you one thing: they keep my attention span.
And I appreciate you making. And I appreciate you making the Dave. But we're gonna end it there.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.